So we are going to record this session. This is creating users, teams, and roles. This is a hot topic webinar this week. My name is Andrea Ayers. I work for Sugar CRM in the SugarUniversity department. We do all the training curriculum or set up facilitators for our customers, our partners, and employees. And this topic this week is about creating users, teams, and roles. And usually it's for the administrator of your instance of Sugar. If you're a partner, you just want to learn more about it, that's fine. Or if you're a customer and you just want to learn more about it, that's okay too. But specifically, in order to get into these areas, you have to have a administrative privileges to get to the admin page. And we'll talk more about admin privileges in a minute when we start going through the different types of users that are out there and what roles you can give people. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Oh, one more thing. If you have any questions, let me pop this over here on the screen so you can see it. 1 second. If you have any questions, this is just a panel I've pulled out of the GoToWebinar. It's called Questions at the top. Please type in a question at any time during the session, click Enter, and I'll be able to see it on my side and who asked the question. And then I'll respond either verbally or I'll write an answer out. If there's any questions that I don't know by the end of the session, then I will email everyone that's on the call with the correct answer. Okay, so just want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to ask the questions that you want. If you've attempted to go in and add a team or a role or user and you don't think you did it right, ask me some questions about it. This is your opportunity to do that. Okay, all right, let me scoot this back over. All right, so we're going to have just a few slides, and then we're going to get into it. I'm going to demo most of the presentation, so I'm not going to bore you with just a onslaught of slides, okay? So stick with me for a second. So we're going to talk about creating and editing users, so users you may have already entered already, how to reassign records in bulk across multiple modules, not just one module at a time, how to create a team, what that team is, what are the characteristics of a team, why do you need teams. And by the way, teams are only available for subscription customers, meaning corporate, enterprise, professional, or ultimate editions. It's not for community edition. And then we're going to talk about roles. What is a role? Why would you want a role? What does it do? And then we're going to go in and create a role. Okay? So just some key concepts first. Before we dive into just creating, I want to make sure you have just a little bit of information under your belt before we start creating anything. So let's talk about users first. And I'm just going to go down this list. I know this is a lot of text, but we want to cover a few concepts that I want to make sure you understand before we dive into it. So users are how Sugar identifies the people in your organization that should have access to Sugar. There is no shared IDs, meaning that according to your license that you have agreed to with Sugar, that you have one person in your organization and they have one Sugar ID. And that person has one email address and one username and one password and so on, okay? It's also how Sugar authenticates that person, or you, if you happen to have a user ID, into the system. You have to have a username and a password. We'll talk more about usernames and passwords in a minute and what kind of combinations you can have. But you have to have a username and password in order to log on. There's some other user types that I'll talk about later that you don't have to have these, and I'll tell you why in a minute, okay? But this is the person that's logging on and going to do transactions in the system, which brings me to my next point. Users can be assigned to records within Sugar. So if you are a user, you can be assigned a call record, a task, a count, a contact, a lead, and so on, okay, if you are a user in the system. Also, each user can set their own preferences. So myself, we use Sugar internally, I can set up my date and time format. Also my time zone. I'm in the central time zone, separate from where my corporate office is, which is in Cupertino, California. So I'm in a different time zone than our Sugar instance, if you want to think of it that way. So the Sugar instance itself is in the Los Angeles Pacific time zone, and I'm in Sugar, it's called Chicago, but it's Central time zone. Okay, so I can set that also how I want my date and time to be viewed. Do I want it in military time, a 24-hour clock, or do I want it in standard time? Do I want to see my date like the American version with the month and the day and the year, or do I want it European style or any other type of format? And also just how my information displays. Maybe my administrator has given me all of these modules, but I like to change the way the modules, the order of the modules that display at the top, or I don't want to view certain modules, so I can personally remove them from view. Okay, and any other personal information. My phone number, maybe my personal address is changed, or I'm going to change my picture on my personal profile. Those are things that a user can change. There are certain things on that user profile they will not be able to change. They will not be able to change the teams that they're associated to or the roles that they're associated to. So there's certain things that only an admin, you, which you're going to learn here in a minute, can put in, and there are things that a user can change. Okay, so let me take my cursor off here for just a second. Here we go. So teams, and like I said down here at the bottom, please note that this is not for Community Edition. So if you're a Community Edition user, it's okay to be on this call, it's fine, and you're going to learn everything else, but teams don't matter. So users will be the same and your roles will be the same, but not teams, right? So teams are basically just this. That's all it is a group of users. You're just saying, I want to put a team name, let's call it sales. I have another team name called sport. And these 12 people are going to go into this sales team, and these 4 people are going to go into support. Okay? That's all you're doing. And one person or one user can belong to multiple teams. Okay? Teams are used, this is it, teams are used to allow or restrict visibility to a record. Okay? Almost every record in Sugar, except for I can think of one that isn't, which is the knowledge base article. But almost every record in Sugar has a field by default out of the box that's called team. Okay? Now, if you're an organization that's open, meaning that everybody can see everything, we're not going to restrict anyone from seeing anything, then you'll put the team what's called global. Global just is every single user that you create is part of the global team automatically. You don't have to do anything, okay? So if you want to do that and everyone's records that they create are all global, then fine. I'm going to show you how you can set that up. But let's say that you're doing a sales organization and you have a tendency of your sales reps poaching leads from other groups that they shouldn't be, or from other sales reps, okay? There's a way by using teams to keep them from doing that type of thing. Okay? You can also do it with a role, which I'll talk about also, but there's ways to set that up so that poaching, so to speak, doesn't happen. And specifically, if you're talking about leads or opportunities, there is a great way to set up that security in Sugar. And finally, if a user is a member of the same team that a record is assigned to, meaning that, let's say you're looking at an account record and it's only assigned to the sales team. That's the only team it's assigned to. And I'm not part of the sales team, and I get a link that says, hey, check out this account. I'd like you to help me with it. I click on the link. It goes into Sugar, and it gives me some message that says, you don't have the security to see this record. That's a team issue. Okay? That means that I am not part of a team that's associated to that record. They can see it. Okay? Every person, excuse me, let me restate this again. Every user in Sugar is automatically part of 2 teams once they're created, the global team and their personal private team. And their private team is going to be them and everybody above them. Okay? So 2 teams, private team and their, global team and the private team. Okay. So let's talk about a role. A role, if we want to compare roles and teams, teams are security at a record level. Each record can have a different team associated to it. Not the whole module, but each record. Roles, on the other hand, are security at a module level, meaning that in this module, do I want this group of people I'm going to add to this role to be able to delete, let's say, accounts, or edit an account they are not assigned to, or export accounts or opportunities or contacts. Okay, that's different types of operations. So the first arrow that's pointing to here has to do with it defines the operations like delete, edit, export, import, those types of things, the operations that you can do, actions, that can be performed within a module. A role can only take effect for the users who are added to the role. So if I create this real fancy role and it has all this different types of security within it, and I only add one person to it, then that one person will be affected. Not their boss and their boss and their boss up the chain of command, just that one person. On a team, on the other hand, if I add a person's private team, it will be that person included in that team and their boss and their boss and their boss and their boss as you go up the chain of command. Okay? Users can belong to multiple roles. Now here's the catch on this. Let's say one role says you can see the account module, and they're also part of another role that says you cannot see the account module. The most restrictive part of that role, whatever you're talking about, is going to prevail. So if I'm part of both of those roles, I will not be able to see the account module. Okay? If one says that I can delete records in accounts and the other one says that I cannot delete, I will not be able to delete. Meaning I won't even have the delete option when I look at Sugar. It will not be there. It's as though it's gone. It just disappeared out of the system. Okay? So this is how you start restricting some of that functionality. So out of the box, users, when they're first created, before you actually give the user IDs out to everyone, it's very open. They can see a lot of things, okay, and do a lot of things. So your job is to start restricting them. Okay, so let's put it all together. So if you are talking about users, teams, and roles, a sales rep is a user, and they belong to the East team, and they're in the sales roles. Well, what does that mean? Well, first of all, they can log on to Sugar because they're a user. Can the salesperson see a particular opportunity? Only if the opportunity is assigned to a team that they're a part of. The East team, what are two other roles that would allow them to see that record? Put it down to the questions panel. Type in a team that I've already said that everyone's a part of that would allow the sales rep to be able to see the record. The East team is one because he's a part of it. What's another team that every user is a part of? Type it into the questions panel. Okay, global, that's correct. Thank you for that. What else? So the global team, the East team, private team, exactly, okay? Great. Also, can the sales rep edit an opportunity? Only if there's that sales role that they're a part of allows them to edit opportunities. Okay, if it's set up that way, then yes. Okay, so we're going to look at all of these and put them all together. So, any questions about just the concepts in and of themselves that you may want a little bit more information about? If you're still thinking about it or typing, that's okay. I'm going to go to the next screen. Okay, these are the, and keep typing if you have your question. These are the three demos that I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how to create a user. I'm also going to show you how to reassign records. So say you have a new user that's taking the place of someone else. I'm going to add that user to a new team that I'm going to create, and I'm going to create a role and add that user to the role. Okay? Make sense to everybody? And I'm probably going to add other people to the team and other people to the role just so we can see what they look like when we log in. Okay, so logged on. I'm logged on as an admin. How I know I'm logged in as the admin is that I have the admin feature here in the drop-down. Okay, so in order to create a user, a team, or a role, I have to get to the admin page. Okay, so while I'm going to this page, just going to put out a little advertisement here. We have 2 new admin class, Admin Essentials. They're free, by the way, free for you to take. They're online. I'll show you where they are at the end of the class that go through almost everything on this admin page. Okay. The online class is 3 days, 3.5 hours a day at the end of August. The live class is in Cupertino, California, so if you're in California near that, I would suggest you take that class because you'll have a live trainer there to ask, and you'll be right there on site with Sugar. And you can fly to the class. Everything you have to pay to get there, but the class itself is free. Okay, so just FYI. And they go into a deeper dive into what I'm talking even about in this webinar. Okay, so everything that we're going to talk about is in this panel, the very top thing. And there's a reason why it's at the top, right? It's probably one of the very first things that you do before you even add data in. Because if you're going to start adding data in and you want to assign those records to people, if you don't have people in there, then you can't assign those records to anybody. Okay? So this is my suggestion to you. If you haven't created, even set up the email settings, these are some of the things that I would do first. Before even creating a user, by default, if you go to, oh sorry, wrong one, go to password management, which is I know not one of the topics that we're talking about, but it's included in user management, is that you set this up first. Okay? So by default, this field right here is enabled. Enable system generated password. So if you've already set up your email, great. That means as soon as you create the users, they'll get an email that says, hey, you're a brand new user, this is how you log on, this is your username. And they will create their password and log on, okay? But a lot of people don't want their users to log on right away, right? So what they'll do is take this off, and they'll set up the users themselves, test, import records, do a bunch of testing, make sure it's all right, and then they'll allow their users to log in, and they'll just send them an email and say, this is your username and this is your password. Okay? But you don't have to do it that way. You can do it this way if you wish, or after you've set up all your users and you have a new user, let's say 3 months from now, you can turn this on and it will automatically generate the password. The difference is what I'm going to show you when we look at the password, the user page. It will have an opportunity for you as the admin to put a temporary password in. Okay. The other thing by default, see how strict this is? It has to have a minimum length of 6. It has to have a capital letter. It has to have a number. It wants a lowercase letter. I think by default it even has a special character. I'm not sure. So if you have strict password management in your organization, have this match it. Have this match that same restriction, right? And there are other options if you want CAPTCHA, for example, or any other type of verification or log on if you have LDAP and so on. So there's a lot of other things that we go to in a little more detail in the admin class. And also if they forget their password and all of that, you can set that up here. Okay. But the main thing I want to show you is this right here, enable system password, turn it off. Okay. If you don't have your logons set up, meaning, if you don't have your email set up and then you go and set up all these users, no email ever went out and they don't have passwords for all of those, so you'd have to go back into all of those and put passwords back in. So might as well do it while you're actually creating the users. Okay, so I'm going to just click Save. All I changed was unchecking the box, so by default. Now, let's go into a user, and I'm going to create a sales rep. Okay, just here are all my existing records that I've already seen. And by the way, I hover over my name up here at the top, the admin. Her name is Jen Smith. This is the original admin that you get, whether you're on site or you're on demand, meaning we're hosting you. Out of the box, the first thing that you get is an admin user ID, which is usually you. Okay, and you can rename that. You don't have to even keep the username admin. You can change that to whatever you want. But usually people keep it at admin and they put their own name in, and their title's administrator and they're active. If you look way over here to the far right, let me go to the very top, you see how it says system admin? I only have one admin for this instance. You can have multiple, but this is the only person that is a super user. Okay, and we'll talk about what that means in a minute. But super user, basically, that teams don't matter to them. They can see every record, every report, anything, no matter what the team is out there. Teams do not matter to an admin. Okay, if you have someone's private team and they're not a part of that private team, but they're an admin, they'll still be able to see it. Okay, so there's nothing anyone can put into Sugar that the admin will not be able to see. Okay, all right. So I'm not going to create an admin. I'm going to create just a regular user. So just like with every other module, I go up to the module. It's now called Users, and I click the very first option, which is a new user. Okay, there's two other users here. I have a group user, which is solely used to group a bunch of users together that have access to a mailbox. Okay, so if I have a mailbox, let's say for an email address called support@sugarcom.com, I want to create a group user, which means everyone in support, so they have access to that mailbox, and every email that comes into that generic email address, they are a part of. Okay, they have their own personal email, but they're also part of that group. Portal API is only for enterprise and ultimate customers. If you're using the portal, the customer portal, so they have access to your cases and bugs and knowledge base articles, you have to have this portal API user created. If you're a corporate or a professional, you won't even see that. And we'll come back to reassigning records. So we're going to manually create a user, but do you see down here that you can import them? Just like you can import accounts and contacts and leads, those are also available. Okay, so let's go up to create. So basically an empty form is going to display for us to start filling in. So a new sales rep, and he is going to start today. I should have probably done this maybe 2 days ago and just made it inactive until he came on and then it made it active, but I didn't find out about it, which happens, right? The day of, oh yeah, we have a brand new person. Okay, thanks. So you have to go in there and set them up. So his name is Roger Sanders, and I'm only going to put his first initial and last name as the username. That's just the way that I do it. But in your organization, if you want the whole first name and last name or their email address, it's up to you, okay? So that's if you have a lot of people that have the same last name and first initial. Okay, first name, and don't freak out, I'm not going to do all of these fields, okay? So first name, last name. The status is the very most important thing on this page, okay? Well, second, this is the other thing. The status, if they are inactive, they can't log on, they don't count as a license, and they cannot be assigned records. So I have Josie, and Josie is going on maternity leave. I'm going to make her inactive. We have a temp coming in to replace her for the 3 months she's out, and I'm going to make that person active. As soon as Josie comes back from maternity leave, I'm going to make the temp inactive and Josie active. And I haven't used any additional licenses. It's the same license, right? A license has to be per active user, and this is what it's talking about. There's another field right here that people get confused. It's called employee status. Sugar could care less about this field. It is specifically informational for you, okay? Nobody else, just you. If this says terminated and this up here says active, they can still log on, okay? All right, regular user. Everyone is a regular user except for those super users like yourself, which are system administrator users. Only the people that you want to have access to, for example, creating fields or changing layouts or adding new users or changing people's security roles, things like that, you would give an admin right to, okay? So this is just a sales rep. We're going to do a regular user. I am a regular user in our Sugar that we use internally. I can go out and add a picture if I wish, choose a file. It brings up a window and allows me to select a picture, okay? So I'll just add one of my pictures here just to show you. Even though I'm not Roger. Okay, and I'm not terminated. My title, I'm just going to say Sales Rep, Department. department is sales. And another important thing, if you want Teams to work correctly, is who do I report to? Okay, and I report to Jim. So I just started typing. A smart type, smart typing comes up with a box of choices. As it narrows it down, as I continue to type, I select one of them. If you start typing and nothing comes up, that means you probably misspelled something, and you can just hit the arrow and a list of all the users can come up and you can select it that way too. Okay, both works. It's still feeding. All right, the last thing, and I want to fill all the rest of it in. That takes time. I'm not going to do that right now. I need to put an email address. Okay, so R Sanders, and see how it's required. Everything with a star is required. So this is abccompany.com. Okay, this is something that a user will change. Does this person want their email to pop up a external, meaning like Outlook email, or does it you're going to do all your emails inside of Sugar, so you stay inside the app? Okay. Now notice, very important, I have a password tab. I would not have a password tab if in passwords that checkbox was checked. Okay, if it said enable system generated password, then I would have no password tab here. So very simple, I'm just going to type the word password1, capital P. Capital P, see how I start adding M in, it starts checking them. And then 1. So I satisfied all of them, but I still have a red box around the confirm. Got to put the same thing in. If I put something that's not correct, like this, it says, oh, wait a minute, you're not doing the same password. Okay? Even if it's the first letter is wrong, it's going to tell you right away. Okay? So as long as they're the same, then it'll let you save the record. Okay, on advanced, for users, these are just as a best practice, I'm going to point out a couple of things that you may not realize, but this is pretty important, especially if you have set up your password, your email, and you import all of your records. Let's say you import a bunch of leads or a bunch of accounts, and you sign them all to Roger here. And Roger's not even on Sugar yet, right? You haven't actually implemented Sugar yet. Well, what Roger's going to get is 100, if you signed 100 records to him, he's going to get 100 emails with, hey, you have a new record assigned to you, it's this lead, here's a link to it. And if you haven't implemented Sugar, basically what's going to happen? They're going to freak out and they're going to come to you, what's going on? I got all these emails, it flooded my inbox, and anyway, it will give you a nightmare. So what I recommend is you uncheck mark this box, create all your users, save this, create all your users, import all your records, set up your email, test it all out. Then once everything's good to go and you're about to go live, go back into your users and check mark the box. Okay? This is a recommendation. Now, 2 or 3 months down the line, you created a user, you don't have to uncheck mark that box, okay? Because you want them to start creating records, receiving records. It just saves you a little headache from them coming to you freaking out. Hey, I got all these emails and it shut down my mailbox and I can't get any more emails, and all they have to do is delete them, okay? It's just a notification. All right, here's another thing. This section right here, as an admin, I would not touch. This is something that a user is going to do. If you want to remove a module from a certain person's view, you're going to do that in a role. Okay, this is something the user would say, hey, you know what, I don't use forecasting because all I do is create leads. That's all I do. I'm a lead generator. So I'm going to remove forecasting, and I can personally, on my profile page, select it and remove it if I wish. Okay, but as an administrator, I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm going to just leave it the way that it was. I'm not going to mess with it. Okay, all right. Date format, if you happen to know that a particular person's in a certain time zone, you can change their time zone. Like mine is not Los Angeles, so I'm going to look for the city that's in my time zone, and mine happens to be Chicago. If you know that a particular user is using a different currency than US dollar, you can change that currency for them. That's how they're going to see their information. That's the main things that I would change per user. Okay, the rest of it's kind of standard information it's pulling from other areas. Okay, then I'm going to click Save. So that user has an email address, they have a username and password, and I've set up some of the other information for them, just in some generic. If I wanted to enter their email address, their IM that they use, their street address, their phone number, their office phone, I could do all of that. In my case, I'm not going to. So Roger, let's say, if this happens to be a situation where Roger's coming in to take the place of someone else for a little while, I would go back to my user page and make that other person that he's taking the place of, let's say Will here, edit. I would make Will inactive, okay, and save. And look here what it does. This is a really cool feature. Would you like to reassign all of this user's records? Yes, I do. This is the same as if I went up to users and clicked reassign records. The difference is it automatically puts Will name is the from, which is awesome. So I'm going to go to the to person and I'm going to select the person that I just created, Roger Sanders. So everything that's Will's, I want to transfer to Roger. And I'm just going to select every single record, just holding the control button down and clicking everything in here. Now notice as I click one of these modules, if there are additional filters, like if I only want to say only the accounts that are customers, only the bugs that have been assigned, only the calls that are planned, I could do that because some of these it makes a little more sense. So only the thing that's new and assigned, like I don't want his closed stuff or his rejected. His cases only is new and assigned. Opportunities, everything. His tasks, ones that are not started or in progress, okay? And then I'm going to click Next. All the other modules may not have had an additional filter. So basically this reassign is basically saying, okay, there's going to be 6 accounts, 2 bugs, no cases, no campaigns, and so on. It gives me a number for each one. I'm 26 emails, 24 meetings, and so on that are going to be assigned to me. Under each one, it says, do you want to include the workflows, notifications, and audit? Typically, I would check mark these boxes if it were me, okay? Now, I'm not going to do it right now because it takes a little longer. It's not only reassigning all the record, it's just going to every single workflow that has to do with accounts, that has to do with him specifically, and changing it. It's going to go into notifications. It's going to change all those notifications to Roger. It's going to go into all the records that onto the audit record so that they show up in the change log that this is the new person, okay? So it takes a little bit more time. I would still do it in real life. I would do it, okay? But for me, I'm not going to just for sake of time. So I scroll all the way to the bottom and I click Next. And it says basically, all right, so we did 6 of these and 2 of these, 26 of these, and so on, okay? So if I wanted to go now into accounts, and I wanted to search for a particular person, I'm going to say assigned to, and I'm going to pick my new person. Oops. There he is, and click Save. Okay, and here are the 6 records it reassigned, okay, that used to be Will's and that are now Roger's. Any questions about creating a user or reassigning record? While you're typing, I'm going to go back up to the admin menu and show you one other thing. So I'm going to have an additional tab when I go back, or actually possibly 2 depending on the circumstance. When I'm looking at my existing record of Roger, notice I have this new tab. Let me put an arrow on it here called Access. This was not there when I created it. That's because when I'm creating it, he doesn't exist until I click Save. As soon as I click Save, he has access, okay? Notice going to scroll to the bottom. I'll talk about his top in a second. He's part of two teams. Just like I said, he's part of the global team and his private team. Okay, so I'm going to click on, we're going to go talk about teams now. So I'm going to click on his private team. And his private team has two people. Remember I told you it's him and his boss and his boss and his boss and so on. However high you have it in the hierarchy. It has him and Jim. Jim is the only one that can be unlinked. Okay? Because he's not one that you actually added yourself. This can't be changed by the end user. This can only be changed by an admin. Okay, do you see how simple the screen is though? It has a team name, a description, which by the way, that's not required, but you can add a description if you want, and then you just select the users you want. Each user, their superiors will be added in. So I'm going to create a brand new team. Let's go from the admin screen so you can see the whole effect of it all. From the admin screen, right below users, no matter what version of Sugar you're in, is the team management. And all the stuff I'm talking about so far is also true for Sugar 6. So if you're still in Sugar 6, it's exactly the same. And here are all of the teams. Notice I created this user, so therefore he is in the private team. He's also part of this global team, which is everybody. Just means that they can see everything, or globally visible, meaning they can see every record. So we're going to go up to teams again, just like we did with users in the drop-down, and select Create Team. And the team that I'm going to create is sales reps. No, not just sales, like the whole department of sales, everybody. Sales department. Okay, that's it. 2 fields, save. The team is created. Now nobody's in it yet, but a team is created. I'm going to go down to select, and I'm going to pick everybody that in the department has something to do with sales. So Roger, Jim, some of these don't happen to have sales in there, but I know these people in sales because they're account reps. And is that everybody? Yep, all 13 people. Okay, so there's everybody in sales, and then I'm going to click select. Okay, so everyone in here, do you notice that one says member report to? So I didn't select Jane, but she came along because some of these other people report to her. All right, so that's my team. Now, notice I have more than, it only shows 5 at a time. So if I wanted to see more, I could click the next screen and I can see the additional people. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go to record just real quick. Click create an account, and in the team, it default to global, right? So I'm going to tell you why in a second because I'm logged on as Jen, but I'm going to start sales, and there's my sales team, okay? So if I create this account and I assign it to the sales team, all 7 of those people, including the admin, which would be 8, people will be able to see this account. Only those 8 people. I have 13 total users, so the other users will not even see this record in the list view. Okay? So let's talk about default team. In order to talk about default team, you have to go to the users page. Let's go back to Roger. And since he's already created now, I'm going to go to Edit and to the Advanced page, and there's a new field. This field was not here when I created, called Default Team. Now, out of the box, it always defaults to Global, meaning that any record that Roger creates, the team field will pre-populate with the word Global. But if I want it always to say Sales, then every record that he creates will have sales in that field instead of global. Okay? That makes sense? And by the way, as you can see, you can add more than one. You don't have to have just one field. If you're going to use that to filter or do reports on or something like that, you could have more than one default team. But only one team is primary, which means if you're going to use it for filtering of any sort or for the first team that will show up in the list, it will always be that team. Okay, so that's the difference between a default team and then the teams that someone accesses, has access right when you create the user. So I'm going to go back to the Access tab, scroll all the way to the bottom, and now he's part of 3 teams. It just simply means if that team is part of a record, assigned to record, he'll be able to see it. If it's not part of one of his teams, he will not be able to see it. Okay? All right. So, any questions about teams? They're pretty easy. You just need a team name and people, users, assigned to it. Okay, if you have any questions, type in the questions panel. So someone is asking, is there a limit to the number of teams that you can add to a person? And no, you can add as many teams to that user as you wish, as many teams as you've created. They could technically be a part of all of them if you want them. Okay, that's a good question. All right, so now let's talk about roles. So before we go into roles, I want to talk about this page here. So I'm looking at Roger. I just created him. Notice that he has access to every single type of record, every module that's out there. He can see all the he can see the cases module, the accounts module, the calls, the leads, meetings, and notes, notifications, opportunities. He can see all of those. He also has what's called normal access type to all of them. And normal just simply means like a regular user. Okay? If he has access to the team that record's associated to, he can see it. Now, you can give additional access to certain people. For example, to the director of sales, to the VP of sales, to even the sales engineer. You can give them more access, meaning that they can bypass the team if you want in that particular area. They're not an admin, okay, but they can bypass that. He can delete, edit, export, import, see all the records in the list view. He can do mass update on all the records and accounts that he has access to, and he can see the detail record on all of it. See how it's all very open. He can do all of those things for all of those modules, okay? Now, the reason why he can't do any of this for Tracker is those are all admin things, okay? So let's talk about how you start restricting him. You don't want him to be able to say, for example, on any of the records that have to do with sales stuff, you don't want him to be able to export, and you don't want him to be able to delete a record or only edit the records he owns, okay? So how do you do that? Well, this page is going to change in a minute. I'm going to go back to the admin page. I'm going to go back or over to role management. Out of the box, you're going to have one of these I created already, which is report security, which I'm going to talk about as a best practice here in a minute. But out of the box, you have Tracker, Sales Administrator, Marketing Administrator, Customer Support Administrator, and Customer Self-Service Portal role. This portal role even says over here in the text, never delete it. If you're a Enterprise or Ultimate Edition user, you need that role to exist for your customers. So don't ever delete that role. These other roles, you can change them, edit them, delete them if you wish, okay? And I'll talk about reports in a minute, but we're going to go in and create a brand new role for only sales reps. I like to recommend that you create the role based on the role of the person, okay? Not for the whole entire sales team, because you have a lot of different security levels, so to speak, within that whole department. You may have a manager, a director, a lead over several people, and then sales reps, account managers that need to have different access, okay? So I'm just doing sales reps. You could do one for sales management, you know, and group a bunch of people together in that, but I'm just going to do sales reps. Okay, and then save. Only thing required is the name. Now the role is created, and everything down here at the bottom is set to not set. Not set means you haven't changed it yet, okay? So it's whatever it was on that user page. So if the user page said enabled, well, guess what? It's still enabled, right? There's still a choice in the drop-down that says enabled, so not set and enabled are the same thing. So the only thing that I would be able to do here is disabled, really, if I wanted to change it. So in my scenario, I don't want my sales reps to be able to delete, so I'm going to mark that as none. I don't want them to edit an account that they don't own, which means they're not assigned to it. I don't want any of them to be able to export any accounts, because if they got fired and they decide, oh, I'm going to export all of these and take them with me, they can't do that. I'll allow them to import, that's fine, and they can see records in their list view, but I don't want them to be able to see the detail of that account unless they own it. And I don't want them to be able to do mass update. That means updating lots of records at one time, like changing all of them to be assigned to me. Okay? You can do that with mass update. I'm going to click Save just so you can see how those changes change colors, fonts. So this changed to red, the none changed to red, the owner changed to bold. If I change this to enabled, which is exactly what it is already, it changes to green. So it just depends on what your change is. And if I wanted to do this exact same thing for, let's say, contacts, I'd have to go to contacts, make sure you select that, not contracts, and do the exact same thing. Okay, so we didn't talk about this access type. If I happen to be setting up a role for a group of people that I want to be able to see all of the contacts, but not necessarily be able to delete them, edit them, export, or whatever, I can set them to admin. And admin means that they'll have admin rights to those records, meaning that they can see all of them. If I set it to developer, that means that they can go, they'll now have this option up here at the top that says admin, and they'll be able to go into Studio and make changes for contacts. Studio would be adding fields, changing layouts, things like that. So be very careful who you give developer rights to in the access type. And then admin is both of those things, meaning that they'll bypass the team structure and they'll have access to certain things on the admin page. Okay, so this person is still normal, that's fine. And I'll just change these real quick to none. Notice I have to click on it once, then the drop down comes up, then I have to change it. Okay, click on the next one once, then change it. Okay, and I would do that for every single one. And it can be a little time consuming to go through that. But once you have the role set up, you have a new employee, you just add them to the existing role. Once all that's done, always click Save first before you go to the very bottom and add the people. Okay? If you click on Select User and you haven't saved what you've done above, it wipes all of that out. Okay, so just as a FYI. So you can search, if you have a whole bunch of users, you can filter by, let's say, the department and just type in sales. But in my case, I'm just going to go down and click the people that I want to be in the sales rep role, which I'm actually going to do these account reps too, but just so for sake of having someone else in my department. All right, and then select, or in my role, excuse me. So now I have just those 4 people. Their managers did not come along with it. You don't see Jim in this list. Just 4 people. Okay? So Chris is one of them. I'll show you what he can do in a minute. So remember that they cannot delete, they cannot export, and they cannot do a mass update. So this role is now set. I don't have to click Save again. It's saved. I'm going to come back to it in a minute and talk about this left side before we're finished, but I want to show you a couple of things. So in regular accounts, so as an admin, I can delete, mass update, export. So if I were to select a bunch of records, you notice I have this mass, let me put the arrow on it. I have mass update, I have export, and I have delete. So I'm going to log out and log in as Chris. He's one of the people in my role. And now when I go to accounts, I got to change his time zone. I'll do that later. Go to accounts, and I select a bunch of accounts. he does not have those options anymore. He cannot delete, he cannot export, and he cannot do mass update. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm going to change this filter up here at the top. And you also will not be able to view any records that he does not own. Okay, so that's another option. It's still loading, but we'll just log out, log back in as the admin. And I need to show you one other thing with, let me go back into my instance here. 1 second. Let me kill it. All right. Okay, let me log out of Chris and log back in as Jen. Okay, and we're going to go back to roles, and there's one other thing I want to talk about. So we talked about roles are at a module level. So on that same role, sales reps, way over here to the far right, these hyperlinks match the same over here to the right. What I'm going to show you is, for example, let's just say in accounts, for sales reps, let's say you don't want them to be able to see the annual revenue for whatever reason, okay? If I click on Not Set, I have a couple of options here. Maybe this particular field is read-only. They can't change it, okay? Or if you don't want them to be able to see it at all, you can remove that field. If you don't want them to be able to see the campaign, make that none. If you don't want them to see ownership, maybe the ownership field is, they can see it, but they can't change it. Whoops. Okay, those types of changes. Maybe only the person that owns it can change the name of the record. Okay, so if you're assigned to it, you can see it and you can change it. Let me make it like this. Everyone can see it, but only the owner can change it. Okay, so it's read, owner, write, right? And then save. So it's one deeper level in. So they won't be able to see annual revenue or, what's the other one I set to? Did I have that saved? Sorry. Okay. None is for that one, and campaign. So they won't be able to see those two fields. Ownership will be read, write, and the name is only available if they're there. So if I go to accounts here as an admin, let's just pull up any old account. Won't matter. So the name, I'm an admin, so that role doesn't matter. I'm not a part of that role. I can, do you see the little edit? I can edit the name even though I don't own it. Ownership I can see, which I wasn't supposed to be able to see, and campaigns, I can see that too. So if I log out and log in as Chris, who's a part of this role, the sales rep role, let's go into any account, doesn't matter. So does he own this one? He does. Okay, so he can change see the edit, he can change the name. He does not, see how it says campaign, no access, annual revenue, no access. Ownership. Ownership is read-only. So if I try to click on this, I can't change it. There's no pencil icon. Does that make sense? So there are things that he can't do, even though he owns the record. If we look at an account that he can't see, which in this case, if he can't see it, then I don't think that he'll have access to it. Here's one, Rogers. Do you see how it's not a hyperlink? He can't even get into it. So he only has access to the detail, because the role says he can't have access to it, to the records that he owns. Anybody have any questions about that? Does that make sense? All right, somebody's asking a question about, what about reports? Does the role affect what he can see in a report? And yes, it does, which also means it will affect any kind of charts he has on any of his dashboards. So if he's part of a role that says he can't have access to something, then it will not show up in any of the reports that he has access to, and it also won't show up on any of the reports that either someone else has created and they can see it, but he pulls up their reports, he still won't be able to see it, okay? All right, so I'm going to talk about one more best practice I recommend as an admin. You pay attention to this or you'll have a lot of heartache. All the reports that are in Sugar, which you get 40 plus reports out of the box, are access everybody. They're all set to global. So I recommend as an admin, I've had this happen several times, it's pretty painful, that a sales rep will go in and they don't get that these reports are shared by everyone. So they think it's just theirs. So they'll go in and delete every report that doesn't deal with them, and there'll only be 3 left. So out of, let's say, several reports you created and out of the box, there's 67 reports. And now there are 3 because he's gone in and deleted all of them. It's a big pain. If you're on site, you'll have to go back to your backup, pull those reports back in. If you're on demand, we'll have to request your backup from the night before. It will take a little while to do. And you may not even notice it for a day or so. Maybe he did it on Friday, you don't notice it till Tuesday. So we then have to research, well, when did he do it? When he can't remember. You don't even know who did it, right? So best practice, I would create a role called just reports or report security. Go back down to the module. So I'm going to go down to delete and edit, these 2 columns. So I'm looking for the module that says reports. It's in alphabetical order. Here it is. And I'm going to change the delete to owner. If you create the report, then you can delete the report, meaning that you own it. If you own the report, you can delete it. If you own the report, you can edit it. If it's not your report, if I create a report and I let multiple people use it, I don't want Joe over in support to change my report. He can copy it and make it his own and then change a few things on his report, but I don't want him changing my report. So create a role that says owner for delete. These are the 2 columns that say delete and edit just for reports, and add every single user to it. Select everybody. It won't add any admins, but it's everybody else. So when they go into reports, so I'm just going to go into any old report. Here's one I created, Team Pipeline. If it's my report, meaning it's assigned to, in this case, Jen, then Jen will be able to do certain things on the report. If the user that's looking at this is not Jim, they are not going to be able to see the edit, and they're not going to be able to see the delete. Okay? If they don't own the report, they can't delete it. But let me show you how easy it is to delete reports. All they have to do is select all the reports. I'm not going to actually do it because I don't want this to happen. And click, select all the reports and then click delete. Okay? Select all the reports and click delete. And it will take a few minutes to delete it, and then it will clear it all out. Okay? It's pretty scary. All right. So if any of you are writing any questions, you can continue adding them. I'm going to talk about one other thing as a best practice. So when entering users, I recommend you start at the top of the hierarchy. In order to add the report to field so that all your teams also will set up correctly, you need the top person in first, then all their subordinates, and then they report up to that person, then their subordinates, and they report up to that person. So start at the top and work your way down. Additionally, if you want to create a team, if using additional teams, not global or private, you create a team before you import records so that when you're importing those teams, you can also, when you're importing those records, you can go ahead and assign the team to it. Okay? I also recommend if you are a customer that doesn't have a sandbox, meaning you don't have an additional instance, and you create a module in Module Builder, create a role also right after you create that module and you deploy it that's only for that module you just created. Let's say it's an HR module for recruiting, that recruiting module, and you only give the access to the administrator, meaning you take away, you disable that module for every user. Do all of your testing and then go in and delete that role when you want everyone to have access to it, meaning you've deleted all your test data and it's ready for your users to see. Then just delete the role and they'll be able to see it the next time they log on. Okay? All right, here's my plug for the Admin Essentials class. There are 3 classes out there. There's a live class in September, that's in Cupertino. We have an online, oops, I clicked the link, sorry, did not mean to. We have a, well, I'll just say it here. We have, this is the live class in Cupertino. Here is an e-learning course. It has, excuse me, it's a training plan, and it has 3 courses in it. One of them is in users, teams and users, or users, teams, and roles, excuse me. And this is the one I'm teaching in August. It's a 3-day class online, 3.5 hours a day. The agenda is on the particular page. You can register for each one of them, put it on your calendar so you don't forget, and you can have access to all of the administrative information for you to have access. Let me put this link in the chat for you. It's in your GoToWebinar pane, and you can save it. Okay? And then there's also, let me go to this. There's also next week's Hot Topic session, which is a day in the life of a sales rep using Sugar 7. It's the same time, next Thursday from 9 to 10 Pacific time. And even if you're not a sales rep or in sales, if you're an admin, you're going to have to make sure they know how to use the system. It's a good idea for you to also attend this. And this session is along with every other hot topic that is provided, which I'll provide you this search to. All you have to do is type hot topic in the search, but I'll put it down here in the chat also for you. And this is the one obviously we're doing right now, saying delivered, and this is the one for next week, and then the one after that is using Studio, and then I'm going to be adding several more in the next day or 2. Okay, so all you have to do is go into SugarUniversity and type hot topic in the search, and you'll always have, or use that link that I sent you, always have the ongoing topics that we're discussing. At the end of this webinar, you're going to have a little survey, and one of the questions is, are there any other topics that you want to see in the hot topic webinar? Please let us know, and we'll reference those and put those on the agenda for ongoing topics. Okay? Does anybody have any additional questions that you'd like to ask before we end our session today? I know we're a little over time, so I know you may have to go. Any more questions, put them in the questions panel. Otherwise, thank you so much for attending today's session. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your contributions and questions. It helps with not making it so boring. And thank you for being a little interactive with me. And I am recording this session. It will be found also out. You'll get a copy of it through GoToWebinar, an email later, about 3 hours from now. And you'll also receive a email, you'll also be able to access it on the LMS later once it's posted. Okay, so probably about 3 or 4 hours from now. Thanks so much. You all have a great rest of your week. Look forward to seeing you, some of you at least, in the class next week for a day in the life of a sales rep using Sugar 7. Okay, same time, same place next week. Different URL to register for, so please go out and do that on the LMS. Thanks so much. You'll have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.